Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you don't walk away with any April Fool's jokes. All right, so item B on the agenda is approval of agenda. If everybody's okay with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as written.
So moved to accept the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. We do not have any presentations this evening unless somebody's set me up for something. We do have somebody that would like to talk during the public comments and inquiries. When I call your name, please come to the lectern and state your name and address, and I'll give you 6 minutes to speak if you need it. Dennis and Cheryl Relly.
Good evening. And actually, it's Dennis and Cheryl Kelly, so it must be a little,
Oh, K, the
weak
K
on the
looks
pen
like an
there.
R, my apologies.
I know, it's her handwriting. And she writes better than I do, so there's an issue
There you
there.
go, there you go.
So, Dennis and Cheryl Kelly, 13667 Greenwood Trail North in West Lakeland. And the reason we're here this evening, we're members of the Afton Bayport Lakeland Lions Club, Lions International. And my wife Cheryl is the district governor for District 5M6, which represents all Lions clubs in Washington, Ramsey, and Dakota County. And I think many of you probably know or realize that until a few years ago, you did have a Lions Club in Lake Elmo. The Lake Elmo Lions Club was actually chartered in August of 1956 and served the community in the city of Lake Elmo for almost 65 years before they turned their charter in. A number of reasons impacted that. COVID, naturally, which had an impact on all organizations. The fact that their main fundraiser, the fishing tournament, they couldn't do a number of years because of ice levels on the lake. And they really weren't doing a lot of outreach to get new members. So we wanted to let the council know and the mayor, and we greatly appreciate the time this evening, that we are going to be starting the formal process to start a new Lions Club in Lake Elmo. We're going to start that on April 16th with a community meeting here in the community center. And we're going to be letting the citizens of Lake Elmo know we're doing a direct mail of 4,400 mail pieces to let them know about that meeting, inviting them to come in and learn about Lions International. And I don't know how much you know about Lions International. We are the largest volunteer organization in the world with 1.4 million members in over 200 countries and 45,000 Lions clubs. And the goal of Lions International is to be a facilitator, to be a conduit, to allow the citizens and residents of a community to work together to help the community be better. In ABL, or Afton Bayport Lakeland, we support our local elementary school. We do teacher baskets. We painted the
Oakland Middle School.
Oakland Middle School Teachers Lounge. We work with Valley Outreach, Community Thread. We do vision screening in the community. And we want to be able to have the citizens in Lake Elmo the same ability to work here. Support the school, support the Lake Elmo Baseball League, fundraising. I know they play on Lions Field, and that originally was set by the Lake Elmo Lions Club. So we wanted to let you know that this was going to be happening in the community. We hope we have your blessing, and we would invite you to our meeting on April 16th to learn more about what Lions are and what they can do in Lake Elmo. Would you have any questions of us?
No, that was great. I don't. Does anybody else?
Right now.
No. Thank you very much for coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, hopefully
Thank you
we'll
for your
see you
time.
there.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right, in our packet, we had the minutes from
Or Jim, I mean.
March 18th. If there's no changes or things that are incorrect in that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for March 18th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from March 18th, 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Consent agenda. Number 2 is approve payment of disbursements and payroll. Number 3, approve Arbor Day proclamation. Number 4, approve support for Lake Elmo Association to submit a letter of intent for habitat restoration through the Priority 2 settlement. Number 5, approve Animal Inn CUP and Variance Extension, Resolution 2025-032. Number 6, approve Northstar Second Edition Development Agreement, Resolution 2025-033. Number 7, approve security reduction and accept improvements from Royal Golf 3rd, 5th, and 6th editions. Number 8, approve release of grading and public utility security for the Union Park West Edition. Number 9, accept sanitary sewer and water main improvements and approve security reduction for Northstar First Edition. Number 10, approve plans and specs and order advertisement for bids for Stillwater Area School District utility improvements, Resolution 2025-034. Call the question. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Did you get a motion and a second on that?
Sorry. Thank you. Was there a second?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Support.
Now I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, regular agenda. Accept bids and award contract for the Village Parkway UP Railroad Crossing Improvements Resolution 2025-035. Mr. Stanley to present.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you very much. Before you this evening is an item to accept bids and award a contract for the Village Parkway Union Pacific Railroad crossing improvements. A little history here. This project was advertised, originally approved and advertised last January. We had to do an extension on the bid date due to some issues securing temporary construction easements. Those easements have since been secured. I do want to note that an item will be before you at the meeting of the 15th to approve a language change to one of the easements. It's simply semantics. We're good to go. It's just, I believe the word agreement was used rather than easement in this case. So that will be a consent item at the next meeting. 6 bids were received, with the low bid falling in line with the engineer's estimate. It's a good bid. It's a contractor has done several projects of this type in the metro area. That's New Look Contracting. So it's my recommendation that that council moves to approve, moves to accept the bids and approve the resolution for that contract. Any questions?
Councilmember Hearn.
Just one little question about the, where you're talking about there's no engineering time for the pump, electrical panel, generator upgrades. Just a kind of a rough estimate, are we talking, closer to 10 hours for that? Is that an additional 100? What are we looking at for that?
You're catching me a little cold on this one, Councilmember Hearn. I'll tell you what, I can look into that and get back to
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilmember Holtz?
When it came to the easements themselves, what was the underlying issue? Were they just not in the right spot, or was there not enough lengthwise along the railroad that we needed for?
So Councilmember Holtz, you're gonna have to forgive me being kind of the new guy here, not having the whole history on this, but these easements were, the big one was written into a development agreement, it's my understanding, and it was just the process of getting the approvals from the developer to secure the easement. So we were able to do that, fortunately, and I think there may have been some confusion on the front end with the contract documents. There was a statement about the contractors working to secure those easements. And that's what caused the initial extension, and we cured the issue.
And then once the construction is done, because signal improvements are a part of the cost, once you get onto the north side, are we gonna be putting up the orange barriers essentially, because it's going into a farm field?
Right,
I mean,
yes.
what does that end of the road look like?
I guess I haven't reviewed the exact detail in the plans, but you could expect to see essentially permanently mounted type 3 type barricades. Type 3 means you got your 3 bars, and just to deter traffic from going that way.
Will we still have some type of barricade on the pedestrian walkways so they don't even cross yet, since there's no need to begin with to cross?
If there's nowhere to go except for the train track, I think there'll be a barricade there, yes.
Oh, yeah. Because I would anticipate there are plenty of children, the age of my children, who would fully feel the need. Oh, there's crossing bars. Well, yes, but you're now biking into a pile of mud for the next 120 acres, so.
Right. Yeah, well, any sort of security measures, you know, these things, they call them what, an attractive nuisance sometimes, right? You know, a road to nowhere or something that's gonna attract the attention of a child. So we'll take measures to make it safe.
Thank you.
I made a mistake. I was asking a question honestly, actually from the next item.
Okay.
So that's where, just to clarify, apologies on that.
No, it's all good.
But with this one, I saw the lift station item pop up on here at first. You know, just to help, this was just kind of a question I was trying to understand with the annual maintenance fees where they talk about that 14,000, is that consistent across all the railroads crossing? That's just a consistent fee that we can expect?
Yes, yeah, unfortunately,
Okay.
yeah.
Go ahead.
To that point, are we reducing money because we did eliminate a crossing earlier? Are we netting out? Because we are required to eliminate a crossing in order to get this crossing. So are we netting?
No, Councilmember Holtz and the rest of the council, I did speak with Jack today, and I was able to ask the question, if we pay these fees for the railroad for any other crossings, and he informed me we do not have any other crossings like this with the arms that will go down, so this one is why we have to pay those maintenance fees.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. It's, you know, that's related to the operational systems they have at this crossing, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilmember Dragisich.
It might be helpful to explain, so we're putting the railroad crossing because we went through a lot of process to get permission with the railroad and the state and everything, but it's for future development and to connect the downtown and make a traffic route that both pedestrians and vehicles. We have these young students who don't know much about it, so I thought maybe a little explanation might be helpful.
Sure, so a little more history on this is, this rail crossing is to open up an area for future development. And it's not just a rail crossing that's part of this project, there's also a large water main crossing at the railroad too, to, you know, facilitate that development and improve service for the community. So, cities look to do these kinds of things, you know, in partnership with developers, but sometimes we have to take the lead, so.
Thank you.
With an agency like a railroad in your future careers, have fun.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
So is that, you know, I'm thinking like with the Northstar edition, right? Like with the Northstar edition, I believe the developer was responsible for crossing the railroad and bringing the utilities across for that development. I guess, is this a different situation specifically because of the, with this railroad crossing having the, I guess the crossing arms? I think it's different than what we dealt with on Klondike is what it sounds like. Is that the reason that we don't want to go through this 3-year process again versus waiting for a developer to cover this?
Councilmember Hearn, I wish I had more history on it. I can't say why we're leading it rather than having a developer do it. I think it boils down to the fact that there's nothing happening on that other side of the track right now without this. And I guess I don't want to speculate.
If I may, a couple key differences is Klondike was just for utility crossing. So the jacking and whatnot, so it's not creating a new crossing. And the developer needed that for the development. At this point in time, we've secured the access permit, which has a limited amount of time that you can put on it, and the developer's not driving the crossing, but we need the crossing in there for the development to happen. So while we're doing the crossing, we're also making sure the utility, so the developer doesn't have to re-go through that process in the future.
Guys, follow-up question for staff on that, because again, I think I understand that portion. I guess I'm just trying to balance of, have we heard from developers that that's the holdup?
I don't think that's the holdup. It's just, again, when you go through the process and you get the Department of Transportation to be on your side to get that permitted. And as Mr. Stanley indicated, when you're working with railroads, they have federal authorization, which basically they can say pretty much no to everybody about everything. And you're at a point where you got the go-ahead to do it. If you're gonna do it, then you should probably take it, if you've been granted the access.
Because if a developer came in, there's a good chance that they would be handcuffed for 3 years,
Potentially,
working to go through this again.
right.
And to piggyback on one more thing, what the mayor just said, our permit that we got years ago expires at the end of this year. As far as what the process looks like to extend that, I'm not sure. So it was kind of now or never, to get this done.
Okay.
Here?
Councilmember Dragisich.
In my previous research, it seemed like in our, in development agreements that had been signed prior for the development that would be to the south, there was some fees involved in the railroad crossing, the future railroad crossing. And I don't know where all that washes out, but there were some monies that had either were paid or were going to be paid once the crossing was constructed. So it's a very complicated project. I kind of think I drove Clarissa crazy asking questions about the financing. But it's not all not as simple and straightforward as we'd like it to be, but it's all in place.
Motion to approve resolution number 2025-035, accepting bids and awarding a contract to New Look Contracting, Inc. for the bid amount of $587,948.01 for the Village Parkway UPRR crossing improvements.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Councilmember Holtz.
I mean, at this stage, it's accepting the bids and awarding the contract, so we're pretty close to the end. So I guess my 2 cents is I'm glad that we are at this stage, because it has been over a decade in this process. This was in our 2040 comp plan to have some type of a road here, and it's in the original DA for Easton Village. It's in the DA for Northport in terms of there being a crossing. So I'm glad we're at this stage, but I also know it took a lot of work from staff, previously from Jack, now from you, Nate, and also from legal. It's been a long time coming, so I'm glad that we are here, and I'm more so looking forward to what that next stage looks like, and I think there is definitely an ongoing conversation for the entire area east of Gorman's and north of the railroad.
East of where?
Oh, yeah. East of the meat market.
Hagberg's.
East of Hagberg's. Yeah, east of Gorman's. We're just gonna go a whole downtown, okay.
All right. Anyone else? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of resolution 2025-035, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Hey, you get to stay up there for authorized plans and specifications for the I-94 lift station and force main improvements.
Mayor and council, thank you. I do have a brief presentation associated with this item. I'm gonna back up. The mayor just introduced, but what we're asking for here is for council to authorize the creation of plans and specifications for the I-94.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Move to approve an
yeah.
increase in the SEH Inc. Design Services contract in the amount of $9,000 and authorize the city administrator to enter into a material testing contract with Braun Intertech in the not-to-exceed amount of $10,000.
Support.
Just for clarification, I will not be voting or discussing on this since I work for the company in question. So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Let me find it again. Where is it? Yeah. All those in favor of the motion to increase the SEH Inc. Design Services contract, the amount of $9,000, authorize the city administrator to enter into a material testing contract with Braun Intertech in the not-to-exceed amount of $10,000, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you for catching that.
Good job.
Sorry there, Mr. Stanley, we can move on.
Alrighty. So, to reiterate again, we're here with an item asking for council to authorize the preparation of plans and specifications for the I-94 lift station force main replacement project. And there we go. I'm going to talk about a little background or history on this. Some of you may or may not know about how problematic it's been recently. Talk about the proposed improvements, schedule, and then the next steps. So I've got a picture in the corner here of a section of this force main that was recently removed when it broke. And this force main's not that old. It was constructed in 1995. And it's part of a system that serves a relatively large part of town, and it conveys direct to the Met Council system. So this force main has had 7 breaks since October 2023. That is not normal. That's bad. And when a force main of this magnitude breaks, it requires an all-hands-on-deck response that can be very expensive and very dirty. Essentially, the sewage is coming into the lift station. There has to be trucks online to pump it, and it's really a horrible thing to have happen. So, in looking at this pipe, we can see that this pipe is past its service life and is severely suffering from some sort of fatigue. And again, usually you expect a little longer than 30 years out of a pipe, especially if it's was constructed semi-recently. But this is where we are. This is where we're at. And this project was in the CIP, but it's actually been advanced because of the critical nature of what we're dealing with here. So what we want to do right now is replace approximately 3,000 feet of force main right up to the Oakdale border and connect it to the existing Met Council force main that it pumps to today. And I'll note that Met Council is currently working out along 94 with the goal of constructing a new manhole at our discharge point later this year that our force main will then discharge to, and it will be a gravity conveyance from that point. But what we need to do is get our pipe fixed, and in conjunction with that, we need to do some analysis. We need to review the service flow areas, and then we need to review the lift station components, because we want to make sure that what we put in there works with this interim connection and the final connection. This is a figure detailing the force main route. As I noted before, it comes out of the lift station on Hudson Boulevard. And it's about 3,000 feet there, up the frontage road, down Inwood Avenue to connect with the existing pipe, which is right there by the, it'll be right there by the overpass over Highway 94. I'll just keep this up for 1 second, and where the plant, you know, this line pretty much has to stay in service while we're building the new one, the existing one, even though it's kind of beat up. So we're proposing to put the pipes essentially right next to each other and then abandon the existing force main in place. So April 1st, today, I wish this was an April Fool's joke, but it's not. This is real. I'm seeking authorization to move forward with the plans. We anticipate that by the early part of June, late part of May, early part of June, we'll be ready to come back to council and get authorization to advertise, with the goal of awarding kind of a midsummer contract and being done with construction this fall. So tonight I'm asking the council to make a motion to authorize preparation of plans and specifications, approve task order number 27 for design engineering services to be provided by Bolton & Mink in the not to exceed amount of $109,537. And to authorize the city administrator to sign a geotechnical services contract in the not to exceed amount of $30,000 for the I-94 lift station force main replacement project.
What type of pipe is in there currently?
Well, it looks like it's PVC to me. I guess I don't know off the top of my head, but that picture, here, I'm gonna click back.
Do you know what the schedule is?
Yeah,
It's PVC, I don't know what grade. Maybe Marty has that information.
Yeah, I mean, I can find some of the, might take me a minute, but
Have we heard of problems with this type of pipe before? Are there any underlying reasons why this pipe is breaking more? I mean, I know there's PVC pipe for force main in a lot of places. I'm just curious as to if we know that there's a problem, are we getting all of the solution?
right, so we've, since 2023, we started investigating and looking at every option of, you know, like adjusting our start and pump times and, you know, the first couple times we just thought it was weak pipe or something. We've had some, you know, about 5 different specialists look into this and try and determine things. We've showed the manufacturers the pipe and they reviewed it and such. Some of the specialists indicated that this type of pipe, possibly at the depth that it's at, with the hammering that the force main, you know, when they kick on, is just weakened it over time. We've made sure that all of our air releases are working properly, and we've never found a failure with that. There were some set points that we made some pretty significant changes with, trying to run one pump as long as we can without that second one kicking on, and that's kind of where we're at right now. There was times where all 3 pumps were kicking on, but there was always a gap. They weren't kicking on exactly the same time. It seemed to be from looking at our graphs and the data that we get, we thought it was only when 3 pumps were kicking on. Well, the last time there was only 2 running, and it still broke.
Right. Do we need any sort of cooperative agreement with Oakdale, given that we cross the road there and run along their developed section there off 3rd Street?
So I actually asked that question recently to the engineering team, and it was determined that we don't. We're tying in right about at the border. We're doing all the work. That's technically actually MnDOT right of way. Because they chase up quite a ways on the county road from the freeway.
So we'll need a permit from MnDOT?
We will, yep. County review, MnDOT permit. There's definitely some entitlements we'll need to secure.
Sure. Councilmember Holtz.
So, given that feedback about, since it has been 7 breaks and that input has been provided by subject matter experts. I presume in this process, it will be known what not to install in its place.
Yeah, well, there'll be an evaluation, through the design process. I don't know where we're gonna land, but it certainly won't be what's in the ground now, yeah.
Are there other instances that we know of where we were installing force mains with this type in the mid to late 90s?
I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, I mean,
In the last 4 months you've been here, you have not memorized every single piece of infrastructure in the city? Come on.
so this pipe is an SDR 26. It's an 8-inch. We actually have two different manufacturers on this section of pipe. And they both broke, so there's a lot of variables, I think, here. Responding to Councilmember Holtz, I think right before I started, we also had a main break on Lake Elmo Avenue, force main break. That one, from my understanding, may have involved a bad air release, not letting air out. So that was something we really focused on hard, but
I mean, I'm trying to think in terms of that time frame. This really was the only sewer installation that was occurring in the city, because the old village still did not have municipal sewer.
right.
So
Yeah,
I'm hoping this really is the only spot.
Yeah, in my time, this is the only section of force main that I've had issues with. I mean, we looked at the PSI ratings and we put pressure gauges on the actual pipe to see if we're exceeding those, and we are not. So,
All right. Councilmember Dragisich.
I think this is fairly unusual in my experience to run into this problem. I'm aware of one other city that's having a similar problem with plastic force main, just in my travels. But the thing I'd like you to do, if you would mind, Nate, is explain for the benefit of our students here tonight and maybe some of our citizens, what is a force main and what is fatigue? Because people hear this presentation on TV and they don't have the benefit of being engineers.
So I'll actually start with what I mean by fatigue, and it's, fatigue's being tired, right? So when we talk about material fatigue, it's the wear and tear that it endures that eventually just wears it out, So as the Public Works Director stated earlier, there's been, and I'll get to this with what force main is, but when you have a pressurized pipe that runs periodically, those fluids inside the pipe, it seems counterintuitive, but they bump up against things too. You know what I mean? And it creates pressure differentials and hammering effect on the pipe that can actually vibrate the pipe. And anytime a pipe's moving, that's not good. So, and what force main is it's a pressurized sanitary sewer. Generally, when you flush a toilet at home and sewage runs out to the street, it will go into a pipe that's not pressurized. Sometimes what happens is you have localized low points or isolated spots within a municipality where you can't convey sewage via gravity out of the area. So you need to create a collection point, which is called a lift station, and then a pressurized sewer system that pumps it out.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Stanley?
I wouldn't mind getting some more engineering class lectures here, actually.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, very good.
Anytime anybody wants to, if there's questions or just whatever, a cup of coffee when I'm in town or whatever, just a quick chat, I'm always available.
And are we confident it's the material that is causing the break, not the pressure from everything? Is there something that needs to be adjusted with the amount of pressure that's being forced through?
So I'm gonna say a couple things and let Public Works Director Powers take it. But what has been done is that evaluation here. So we've tried differentiating pumping times, you know, start and stop durations, and at variable pressures. And just been having this problem of it breaking no matter what, like Marty said, you know, even in there's different sections of pipe that were built by different companies, that were manufactured by different companies, and they're both breaking, you know. Marty, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, we added automated pressure system gauges, so it automatically tracks it over, you know, a period of time, and even, you know, so it's not like we're sitting down there watching the pressures, but we never exceeded the 160 PSI. We spent thousands of dollars on adding relays and such to the pumps, so they can't start at exactly the same time, and there's a delay timer. So the first one starts, gets the fluids moving, and then, you know, 60 seconds later, if that's what we set it at, that second pump would kick on and continue to move, and then if ever needed, that third pump could potentially kick on. And we separated those start levels to as much as we possibly can. And right now, I thought we had it, and then we got another break. So, so yeah, even some of the specialists, I've talked to cities and engineers and pipe manufacturers, and nobody has a great explanation other than it's just been fatigued, and maybe over time, some of those forces were hitting hard and stressed it and cracked it. And even though we've made so many of these new corrections, it might already be weak and too late.
Sure. Okay.
Where are most of the breaks happening?
So we've had 2 behind Best Buy, 3 on the west side of the machine shed, and 2 on Hudson. 1 was in our new road last year. That's 2.
So really kind of throughout the pipe itself?
It is, yeah,
Not-
it's
okay.
not in the same area. We're also investigating if there's high points or, you know, so getting an air bubble somewhere, and
Sure. Okay,
and they're not consistent with where they're at.
all right. If there aren't any more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to authorize preparation of plans and specs and approve task order number 27 for the design phase engineering services to be provided by Bolton and Mink, Inc., in the not to exceed amount of $109,537, and authorize the city administrator to sign a geotechnical services contract in the not to exceed amount of $30,000 for the I-94 lift station force main replacement project.
Support.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Holtz.
When the time comes, I think I would be curious myself, and I think council overall would be curious, when you start to get that feedback about what it can't be replaced with and what should be replaced with. I mean, we're not engineers, but I would like to see that info, or just, you know, be able to glean over it and then have someone else tell me what it actually means. But I mean, this is why we have a CIP project. I appreciate that staff was on top of it and brought it forward earlier than necessary, but I mean, it's gotta be done, so.
I will just go on to say that this is exactly the reason it's important to have good asset management of your systems in place. If we had this documented in some sort of ArcGIS or cartograph or something like that, the question that Councilmember Holtz had regarding, do we have any other SDR 26 within the city, could be answered fairly simply. I know that this is a 30-year-old pipe, probably with a life expectancy of 50 years, typically, I think, on the realm of that. And therefore, another good reason we went through some of the rate changes and things where we're catching up and then adding money to the pot to take care of the, you know, the amortized depreciation of the assets we have in the city, so we're not constantly in a bonding point to take care of issues like this. So, you know, something to be looked at in the future is maybe have a better understanding of what our assets are in the city, whether it's pipe like this, storm sewer, signs, things of that nature. But you all know I'm an advocate for that type of information. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing preparation of plan specification and approve task order 27 for the design phase engineering services to be provided by Bolton and Mink Incorporated in the not-to-exceed amount of $109,537, and to authorize the city administrator to sign a geotechnical services contract in the not-to-exceed amount of $30,000 for the I-94 lift station force main replacement project, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Now we go on to council reports. Councilmember Dragisich.
No report this evening.
Councilmember Holtz.
I was going to give a shout out. There have been multiple Lake Elmo residents who have been at the Capitol testifying on behalf of causes that they are advocating for. In this case, both are residents of Cimarron. Bray Maffey has testified in favor of a bill, and so has Sammy Silver. And irregardless of the bills themselves, I think that's something that needs to be kudos provided, because it takes a lot of courage to go to the Capitol, testify in front of legislators and the cameras, and do it on behalf of not only yourself but others. So kudos to them.
No report.
No report.
No report here.
All right, staff reports. Anything, Councilmember Miller?
Yeah, I
Or
just,
Administrator
a
Miller?
promotion,
Yeah.
remember now.
Well, is it really though?
Oh, no, sorry.
Questionable.
Okay, all right. Today marked the last day of employment for our Administrative Services Director, Carissa. And so Carissa, just want to thank her for her service. She's served our employees over the last couple of years, and she definitely was dedicated and showed professionalism and compassion when dealing with our employees. So we wish her all the best in her future with the Department of Corrections. And so we're currently recruiting for that position, and that posting will close this Friday. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Johnson?
No report, thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
No report. No report.
Marty?
Our plows aren't put away yet, but we did get some street sweeping done this last week, so.
Time to get the sweeper out. Mr. Stanley,
No report.
you already talked enough today?
I've said enough,
All right.
yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we closed on the Olson property on March 20th. That's for the ball field. And then we are closing on the Jurek property this Thursday. That's the other ball field property. And then also there's going to be a hearing before the Court of Appeals on April 16th at 11:15. And that's along with 3 other cities, and that's appealing Judge Lippman's decision to uphold the 75, 90 gallons per day condition. So,
For the other three,
yep.
who are the other three?
I think they're Oakdale, trying to think who the other 3 are.
Was
Is it
Monmita.
Hugo?
Might be Matamita and Hugo, yeah.
Be my guess.
And I assume that's live streamed with audio?
It is, yep, or you can go,
It's always so
watch
much
it live.
fun. All right, next week is a council meeting workshop, and we will have Mr. Clark Schroeder presenting some of the issues that he's been on the special task force for Lake Elmo water issues. There might be one other added item to that workshop as well, pending a phone call from an individual to city. So, yeah, with that, I will adjourn.
No,
this-
Mayor, wait.
What?
Let our students ask us some questions if they.
Oh, yeah, sure. You guys have any questions? Put you on the spot? No? Just quiet like you are in class, I bet.
They were just We should have given them 5-gallon buckets so they could catch the pearls of wisdom as they drip from our lips.
Right, right.
Is that a phrase from the range? or is that-
Actually, it takes me back to my days when I was an engineering
All right.
student. And
We're
Professor
gonna-
Goodman used that.
We can, we're adjourning this meeting at 7:45.